I use scale models all the time because I do a lot of sci-fi videos, and it occurs to me that a lot of my filmmaking audience doesn't have access to the type of software that can create CGI spaceships. So today I'm going to show you how to make spaceship miniatures for sci-fi films and then make them look real. Specifically, I'm going to scratch build Khan's spaceship, the SS Botany Bay, from Star Trek. But before I start, I feel like I should mention that if you need some kind of vehicle that already exists in real life or on film, it's probably already a model kit. But until recently, there was no kit for the Botany Bay. I actually started building this in July of 2013. Didn't work on it for like 4 months, and then shortly before I finished it, they came out with this. But the ship in their kit is this big. Yeah. I think I can do better. Tools and materials. X-Acto knives, rotary tool, wood glue, rubber bands, balsa wood, cardstock, Elmer's glue, tape, masking, scotch, it doesn't matter, refrigerator magnets, metal bits, metal grates, pencils or ground up black pastels. The actual studio scale Botany Bay was 43 inches long. I'm making this a half scale version. Using replica prop form, I found most of the measurements, extrapolated the missing ones from what I had, and then divided them by 2. Here's a quick shot of the final measurements. I started by marking 5 pieces of balsa at 21.5 inches, tracing the nose cone and gluing 3 together. Next I glued these 15.5 inch side hull pieces together. It really helps that they sell triangular cut balsa at most craft stores. I wanted to magnetically attach the cargo containers, so I hollowed out this area and put a magnet inside. Then I attached the outer hull pieces. Wood tends to warp. It's funny because it's Star Trek. So I held it together with a whole bunch of rubber bands, as well as put it in a vise while it dried. I cut off the excess balsa wood. I started gluing the conning tower together. I assembled the engineering hull out of scrap pieces of balsa. I also rough sanded the conning tower. I held these parts onto the main hull with rubber bands while waiting for the glue to dry. Okay, so I have to admit right here, there is one design flaw that I made. The forward command section should be just a little bit wider than the cargo spine, but I was way too far along when I noticed that, so I just kind of let it slide. Besides, you can't really notice unless all the containers are missing, and let's face it, that's a really boring cargo configuration. I attached a few detail pieces to the ship. Throughout this process, I continually sanded and dremeled the nose cone into a more refined shape. I drilled 3 holes in the stern. Now the actual stern of the Botany Bay looks like this. These pieces came from a model kit for a Ford Model T, specifically parts of the engine block. But I can't for the life of me figure out how this engine configuration is supposed to make a spaceship go. And according to Canon, this ship was built in the 1990s with 1990s technology. So I just installed rocket engines. They're actually plastic pipes from a train layout. I plan on using these metal parts to hold the cargo containers on. More on that later. I use these metal pieces for the radiators that go on the struts of the ship. I have no idea what they're called, but I think they're used to hold old screws that have worn out threads in place. I made the struts out of balsa. I attached cut up refrigerator magnets to the hull to strengthen the magnetism and hold on all the containers. I made these frames to hold the radiators. I painted the frames first and then glued the metal onto them. The magnets are arranged to match the panels on the original ship. I started this crazy long process to make the containers out of cardstock. What a lot of people don't realize about the Botany Bay is that it's a modular container cargo ship. When it first appeared on Star Trek, it was only partially loaded. I wanted the option of different load configurations in case I wanted to use this ship in more than one type of video, and that's why I didn't glue the containers onto the ship. It's also why I went through the insane process of making all 18 cargo containers. I eventually abandoned that idea in favor of making one removable block, and decided that I'd only make more containers if I needed them, which I probably will, but that's a project for another day. I painted the whole thing gray because spaceships are gray! Now, as we all learned from Sandra Bullock in Gravity, space is full of dust. Dust that can kill you. So I used tape and ground up pencil lead to replicate the damage caused from being in space for 200 years. Essentially anywhere where there's an edge, I applied some dust. See, what the tape does is create the illusion of panel lines. It's just a fun little detail. What you do is you put a piece of tape where you want a panel line to be, smudge some pencil lead, and then remove the tape, and it creates a line where dust has built up. I used workable fixative to make sure that the pencil doesn't smudge. Well, doesn't smudge any more than I want it to. And that's how you make a spaceship from scratch. Now let's put it in space. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to check out more of my prop and movie effect tutorials, then you can check those out in these links, or you can subscribe, which would be really awesome because subscribers, yeah!